Marcel Mauss's book, The Gift, is a study that compares the practice of giving gifts in different early cultures. This book is important for two reasons. First, Mauss points out that the way people give gifts is actually part of a structured communication system. Second, he introduces the idea of the total social phenomenon into anthropology, which means that giving gifts is connected to many aspects of life, such as economics, law, morality, religion, mythology, and aesthetics. Before this book was published, we did not really understand how important gift giving was in ancient societies. In those societies, as well as in ours, the economic significance of gifts is often hidden under layers of symbolism. For example, when a young couple gets married today, the gifts they receive still serve an economic function, even though it might not be obvious. In our society, many aspects of gift giving still exist, but they have been adapted to fit modern life and no longer play a central role. Today, the free market is more important, and this shift represents the evolution from a society focused on gift exchange to one centered on the free market. Mauss tries to show that in all societies, gifts which are supposed to be given voluntarily are actually given out of obligation. He argues that all social phenomena are connected and form a total system where various institutions are expressed through these practices. The gift is just one part of this larger social system. In early societies, a gift had to be returned, otherwise the entire social structure could be disrupted. Mauss begins by asking what legal principle in early societies made it necessary to return a gift. What kind of power does a gift have that forces the recipient to give something back? To answer these questions, Mauss uses a comparative method focusing on regions like Polynesia, Melanesia, and Northwest America. Before diving into this comparative study, he summarizes some of the findings from a larger study he did with. Mauss argues that there has never been a stage of what we call a natural economy. In early Western legal and economic systems, the exchange of goods was between groups, not individuals. These exchanges were not just about goods and wealth, they also involved banquets, rituals, military services, women, children, dances, festivals, and fairs. In this system, the economic transaction was just one part of a broader ongoing contract. The most important thing was that these exchanges, though presented as gifts, were obligatory and could lead to conflict, either private or public. Mauss calls this system one of total services, meaning that each gift is part of a system of reciprocity, where the honor of both the giver and the recipient is at stake. One of the best examples is the alliance between two groups in North America, which involved a complicated exchange system. Mauss suggests calling this phenomenon potlatch, a term used by American researchers which comes from the Chinook word meaning to feed or to consume. What stands out in these tribes is the principle of rivalry and hostility that underpins all these practices. There is also a strict hierarchy, and the entire tribe or clan is represented by its chief, who embodies all its possessions and actions. Mauss defines potlatch as a system of total services that is competitive in nature. In the first chapter, Mauss talks about the exchange of gifts in various Polynesian tribes. Though the full form of potlatch is not present there, many of its elements can be found. In Samoa, for example, during events like marriages, births, circumcisions, sickness, a daughter's puberty, funerals, and trade, the key elements are honor, prestige, and mana, a spiritual power associated with wealth. Gifts need to be reciprocated, or else the giver risks losing mana, which is a source of authority and wealth. There are two terms used in Polynesia. Tonga refers to items of fixed property which are inherited by a daughter when she gets married and must be returned. Walao refers to movable goods that belong to husband. According to Turner's translation, Walao means foreign, while Tango means native. This suggests that Tonga goods are more closely tied to the land, the clan, the family, and the person than Walao goods. This is also true for Maori law and religion. There is a Maori proverb that says that Tonga can destroy the person who accepts them. Here the term hao is introduced. It refers to a spiritual power that belongs to the Tonga and all personal goods. This hao imposes the gift because it carries something of the giver's essence. The spiritual power follows anyone who possesses the object and wants to return to its original owner. Thus, the legal bond created through things is actually a bond between souls because the thing itself has a soul. When someone gives a gift, they are giving a part of themselves. Therefore, one must return what is in essence a part of other person, because accepting a gift means accepting part of giver's spiritual essence. This is why all things exchange hold a magical or religious power over the recipient. The obligation to give and receive is very important. Refusing to give or receive is like rejecting the bond of alliance and community. It is as if the recipient has some sort of ownership over everything that belongs to the donor, and this ownership is seen as spiritual bond. All things are meant to be passed on and to balance accounts. Another important point is the gifts given to the gods. Through sacrifice, a similar situation is expressed. People offer things to spirits and gods in exchange for something else. It is believed that the gods own portions of this world, so sacrifice is a way to repay them for what we use. According to Ozenbruggen, gifts to both humans and gods serve to maintain peace between them. This way, people can get rid of evil spirits and influences. In more recent times, the practice of giving alms has replaced destruction by sacrifice. Gifts to children and the poor, for example, are pleasing to the dead. The ancient morality of giving is that generosity is an obligation of the rich, allowing them to rid themselves of excess happiness and wealth, as it is the will of the God that these be given to the poor. In chapter 2, Mauss shifts the focus to potlatch, a complex system of gift giving found in various cultures. This chapter explores potlatch-like practices in Melanesia and its fully developed form in the American Northwest. In the Andaman Islands, people believe that gifts are linked with the souls of the givers, leading to the competitive spirit in generosity. New Caledonia has a similar system called Pilo Pilo, which involves festivals and services where gifts must be reciprocated. This creates a bond between people, ensuring that gifts eventually return to the original giver. The Trobriand Islands have a more intricate system called the Kula, a circular exchange of gifts among chiefs. Kula involves sea expeditions where tribes exchange valuable items like bracelets and necklaces called waigua. These items have to be in a specific time frame, and they hold significant cultural, religious, and symbolic value. The exchange is not just about trading objects, but also about maintaining relationships and social status. The potlatch in the American Northwest is a more extreme version of this gift-giving system, marked by violence, competition, and a focus on honor. Here, the idea of giving is tied to social rank, and failing to reciprocate can lead to severe consequences, including slavery. The potlatch is a total phenomenon, meaning it affects all aspects of life, including and social structure. Three key obligations define the potlatch: the obligation to give, to receive, and to reciprocate. Refusing to participate can result in a loss of honor and social standing. The potlatch also involves the destruction of goods as a way to demonstrate wealth and power. Chapter 3 explores how the principles of gift giving from archaic societies survived in ancient civilizations such as Rome, India, Germany, and China. In ancient Rome, there was a practice called nexum, where people pledged things of little value, like animate objects, to seal contracts. These pledges were considered to have inherent power and personality, influencing the actions and obligations of the contracting parties. Over time, Romans and Greeks began to separate personal relationships from economic transactions, moving away from the older morality of gift giving as the market economy developed. In classical Hindu law, gift giving was deeply connected to religious beliefs. The Brahmins, who were recipients of gifts, were believed to hold spiritual power. Gifts were obligatory, and it was thought that giving would bring life and the next. These gifts were seen as extensions of the human person, and food in particular was meant to be shared or it would lose its essence. Though Brahmins lived on gifts, they were not supposed to accept gifts from kings, as this would create a dependency relationship, making them subject to the king's power. In Germanic law, gifts and pledges played a crucial role in forming alliances and maintaining social bonds. The pledge, though often a little value, was symbolic and bound the honor and authority of the giver. The recipient was also bound to return the pledge, and the process involved ritualistic elements like throwing the pledge at the recipient's feet. In ancient Chinese law, when someone sold something, they retained the right to mourn its loss. This practice reflected the idea that even after a transaction, the parties remained in a state of mutual dependency. In conclusion, Mauss reflects on how the principles of gift giving from archaic societies still influence modern life. He is optimistic, noting that not everything in our society revolves around buying and selling. We still see remnants of the gift in the way we feel compelled to return invitations and courtesies, and in our tendency to give back more than we receive. Mauss believes that objects, especially works of art, retain a connection to their creators or previous owners, almost as if they have a soul. Mauss also sees these principles at work in social insurance systems. He views social insurance as a way for society and employers to give back to workers for their contributions. Though this perspective might seem a bit naive, it highlights his belief in a form of group morality. For example, mutual benefit societies that fund charitable activities reflect a collective responsibility toward one another. Society, through charity, social services, and solidarity, is taking care of individuals. Mauss suggests that we should look back to archaic societies for inspiration, particularly joy of public giving. Spending generously on the arts, hospitality, and community festivals, he believes that the wealthy should once again see themselves as the financial caretakers of their fellow citizens, contributing both freely and out of obligation to the well-being of society. He envisions a society where services are shared and exchanged for the common good. Mauss also applies the principles of gift giving to modern economics. He observes that in archaic societies there was a notion of value similar to our own, but their economies were infused with religious elements. Money held a kind of magical power and was deeply connected to the clan or individual. Economic activities were ceremonial, obligatory, and far from being purely utilitarian or materialistic. While these societies were not entirely disinterested, their understanding of interest differed from ours. Malinowski, who studied the Trobriand Islanders, categorized their transactions by levels of self-interest and disinterestedness. He argued that the only pure gift was between a husband and a wife. Though Mauss notes that even these gifts could be seen as a form of payment for services like sexual societies, gifts often had hidden motives, and even acts of destruction were a way to establish hierarchy and demonstrate superiority. Wealth was less about utility and more about maintaining prestige. Mauss is pleased to observe that modern humans have not become entirely economic animals. We still engage in what we call irrational expenditure, spending money in ways that do not necessarily make economic sense but reflect deeper social values. Mauss introduces the concept of total social facts, which means that certain social phenomena encompass all aspects of social, economic, religious, aesthetic, and more. These institutions are complete social systems, dynamic and interconnected. Mauss argues that studying these total social facts is essential for sociologists because it offers a holistic understanding of society, revealing the complexity and richness of social life. Mauss compares the segmented societies he described earlier with European ones. He finds that people in these traditional societies tend to be less serious, less miserly, and more generous than people in modern societies. Trust is absolute in these communities. People either trust, which is why they can quickly shift from peace to conflict. At the end of the book, Mauss proposes further research with a hopeful conclusion. Societies have evolved as their members have learned to stabilize relationships through giving, accepting, and reciprocating. He believes that in trading and other exchanges, people have learned to find peace by setting aside their weapons. Mauss is confident that goodness and happiness can be found in simple acts like maintaining peace, balancing collective and private work, sharing wealth, and practicing mutual respect and generosity. His values can be nurtured through education.